get on Q&A session together. Couple of quick answers already to some of the questions. Could the video be used into schools and so forth? Yes, do please contact the elected Tyra David and she will provide that to you. As much as foreign, we had a lot of foreign questions on could we come and visit the clinic? Yes, do please contact Tyra Daly or visit royakabuki.org. Now, let's start with the million-dollar question for Dr. Bodamer and everybody. How close are you to establish a successful drug that would be viable in human trial? Can you walk us through an estimated timeline?
I missed the first part of the question because you cut out.
Apologies. How close are you to establish a successful drug that will be viable in human trial?
Okay, next question. I think that's really the $1 million or $5 million question. I think it's difficult to say. You know, drug development is high risk, and out of 100 candidates, there might be one viable candidate. If you look at the traditional FDA approval process, this takes many years. Now, with the orphan drug legislation, at least the good news on the regulatory side of things is this is very much accelerated. But again, coming back to the question, you know, I would say it's probably still years away. It depends on what the goal is. If you feel that, you know, having a drug that addresses some of the unmet needs, I would say that's probably closer. That's probably within the next 2 years, 3 years. Having a drug that really addresses the vast majority of concerns, leaving aside obviously anatomical defects, I think that's probably more. We're looking at a 5 to 10 year timeline, and I'm cautious here because I don't want to overpromise. But again, emphasizing it's high risk, so we may do all the high throughput screening that we can. We will never find a drug. I mean, that's a possibility. It might be also a possibility that with the next screen we find something that's already FDA approved. So it's more or less impossible to answer that question with a precise timeline.
Thank you. Dr. Gussoni, given your work, do you believe physical therapy is effective in strengthening and building the muscles of the Kabuki individuals, and how?
I firmly believe, yes, physical therapy is an important component for maintaining skeletal muscle function. In the muscle community, we use the proverb, you use it or lose it. So anytime somebody can do exercise, you know, moderate exercise, clearly not strenuous exercise, but keep those muscles moving, clearly it strengthens the tissue itself, and it maintains it viable for many, many years. So it doesn't matter actually if you have Kabuki syndrome or not. This is true for all of us, including people like me who are middle-aged and they need to maintain the skeletal muscle. So absolutely, yes. I am a firm supporter of physical therapy.
Can I add to that? I completely second what Emanuela just said. There's one additional kind of therapeutic approach that has been entertained in children with Kabuki syndrome and significant muscular hypotonia and hyper flexibility of the joints, that is growth hormone supplementation. And there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that there is a real benefit. Growth hormone obviously is always a case-by-case discussion because there are some side effects with the growth hormone supplementation. But we have used and seen definite benefits in a kind of a smaller number of individuals with Kabuki syndrome related to improvement of, you know, muscle function, muscular hypotonia, and also joint hypermobility.
Thank you. Question for Dr. Bodamer. Is there any biological explanation for inconsistencies over time in ability/problem solving memory skills in a Kabuki syndrome individual? One day they can do it and the other day they cannot.
Yeah, I think that is probably not a good explanation, but you know, potential hypothesis is that this is a very dynamic process that is obviously influenced by many other factors. there might be additional genetic factors contributing to that day-to-day change. There might be environmental factors that play a role. So it's difficult to say, but we have certainly seen that in Kabuki syndrome and other neurodevelopmental disorders that there is a kind of a day-to-day pattern sometimes to the individual. But maybe Ben, if you want to add to that.
So just briefly, I'll say that when somebody has a certain difficulty within cognitive functioning, oftentimes that can be demonstrated as inconsistency. So for example, it's well known that people that have difficulty with attention or with memory, that doesn't mean that it's difficulty with attention or memory all of the time, but that in fact, the way that it might show up is sometimes it's really strong and sometimes it's really difficult. And so I would say that for some domains, inconsistency is the mark of the difficulty rather than an unexpected event.
Thank you. Last question for Dr. Goodlett and all. Could you describe the main differences between case 1 and case 2 on the neurodevelopmental side?
So the main difference that we understand at this point is overall severity. And then with the KMT2D mutation typically being associated with more difficulty, and then that would be the main explanation that we have at this point, is just level of severity.
Dr. Bonner, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that's what I would say as well. And there's certainly also a difference in gender. And that's, again, generally speaking, in individuals with KDM6A mutations, gender might actually also play a role. And we have seen females, generally speaking, less severely affected from a neurodevelopmental standpoint than males.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bonner, Dr. Gusonic, Dr. Goodlett, and Tara.